Hi everyone, welcome back to Salty Tarot. We're going to do a little oracle pull and see what's going on with your connection and get into some tarot. I've got the Tarot of the Divine over here. So we're going to start with the Future Higher Self deck. So Spirit, please tune me into the collective. Let's see what's going on with the person in their connection with the person in their heart or on their mind. I do like to stay focused on the heart energies, though, in these readings, because, you know, minds can put a lot of noise in the way. So if you can tune into your heart as I'm shuffling and think of your person. Okay, so what's going on in your connection with the person in your heart? We have success. It's your time to shine. Success from what you pour your heart into. So someone in this connection might be experiencing personal success or career success. You might be feeling successful about the connection. Putting in the work, action that helps to achieve goals, building the path to success. So strong emphasis on success here. So maybe that the connection is headed for success but needs you to put in some effort, energy, some maybe just focusing on goals and what you want to what you want to achieve, and then ensure that you're taking the steps to get there. Pay attention, look out for signs from the divine, acknowledge red flags. So part of putting in the work might be having doing a realistic assessment of the connection and seeing if it's going where you want it to go or if it aligns with your future goals. And also looking out for synchronicities. Any other messages from this deck? Creativity and obsession. So we've got creativity, have fun, express yourself in new ways, and obsession, focusing too much on one situation, the need to take a step back. So if you have been focusing on this connection to the exclusion of other things in your life, you might want to take a step back and ensure that you're maybe diving into some creative projects. If there's things that you've been wanting to create or to do or to learn, now would be a good time to do that. This is called the Romantic Love Oracle deck. Spirit, what's going on in this connection? Between obsession and pay attention, I'm thinking, if you've been obsessing to the point of overlooking red flags, then that might be a message to, step back, and that will give you some perspective potentially. And then, success in putting in the work might go together with creativity. So maybe there's creative ways that you want to engage with your person or support the relationship. Sacrifice, giving up something now for a future reward. So maybe there's something maybe that's part of putting in the work. Maybe there's something that you need to let go of in the rest of your life in order to ensure that you're giving the connection the time or energy that it deserves. It could even be that perhaps you've been focusing on the connection to the exclusion of other things, and maybe you need to sacrifice the connection at this time, if that resonates for you, in order to achieve success in other areas of life. That could be a message for someone. Resolving issues, solving inner conflict with others, healing past trauma. So if you've been going through it with this person, there might be some past trauma that is causing triggers between you. So perhaps taking a look at, your past relationship wounds or things from childhood, release grudges, wounds, and pent-up feelings through healthy activities. This person appears to be in prayer pose out in nature, so either meditation or maybe going for walks out in nature, or getting into nature, and go rock climbing, I'm hearing. If rock climbing is your thing, go rock climbing And that might give you some perspective on the connection, or enable you to release some pent-up energy in a creative way. And we have deception, false illusions, scarcity mentality, falling into bad habits. So if I think the number one thing, cards are falling. The number one thing that obviously causes ruptures in connections is our own internal patterning, right? And then we get triggered, and then we react, and then the other person reacts from their own internal patterning. One of those things can be sort of having scarcity mentality is referring to having the feeling like there's not enough. So if you feel like there's not enough in the connection, there's not enough, maybe you feel not prioritized by by the person in your heart, or you feel like they are, what am I trying to say? That there's not enough love in the connection, maybe, or that you're not getting enough attention from them. It might be that you're deceiving yourself in the sense that you're reacting where maybe you need to take a step back. So if that resonates, take that message. If you have, any past patterns, or if they do, maybe they have past patterns that are leading to triggers in the relationship, now would be a good time to do some inner work and resolve those, or have some conversations with your person to sort of ensure that there's no misunderstandings that are feeding those triggers. And letting go of, it's funny, this is rather than deception of one person by another person. I mean, maybe that resonates for you if it does, take it. But if that isn't something that you've already been thinking about, what I'm really getting from this is self-deception, is sort of having the mind sort of tricking us into reacting to things, even though maybe the present circumstances are not what you're actually reacting to. I don't know if I'm saying this very well, but sometimes given a couple of days, stepping back, or even, in some cases a longer period of time, when we look back on situations, we realize that we were reacting out of something in ourselves, some inlaid pattern within ourselves, or a bad habit of thinking or reacting that had nothing to do with the present circumstances or the person in front of us, but everything to do with past circumstances or past patterns or childhood stuff. So if that's the case, then do that work to resolve those things, identify them, sit with them, allow them to pass. Let's get an angel number for your connection. Spirit, what is the message, the angel number message in this connection? We have 2002, the void. Longing, technology, ambition, genius, forward thinking, stress, and depression. You have more control over your life than you realize. Learn and execute what interests you. Turn things around. It gets better with time. There are plenty of friends to make, so chill out, have fun, and open up. Go outside. So there again, that message to get into nature. Not necessarily go outside. I don't know where you live, but where I live, if I go outside, I'm in nature. So that's what I'm taking from that. Connect to, if you're in a city, if you're in a place that doesn't have a lot of nature, connect to, one of my favorite things in cities is those little roots growing up through the sidewalk, because it shows the resilience of nature and sort of its triumph over things that are human made. So we think of concrete as being permanent, immovable, solid. It's not. It's just another fluctuating energy within the cosmos that is so easily disrupted by nature, and as is everything human. And some people might find that threatening. I find that really comforting. It makes me feel like the impact of humans can be resolved by nature, can be soothed by nature, for what that's worth. Okay, so we've got the Tarot of the Divine, and so Spirit, please tune me into the connection of the collective accessing this reading. What's going on with their person at this time. So, and where to take it. So what's happening on your person's end? What energies are they in about the connection at this time? We have the Wheel of Fortune. So Either things are dramatically shifting for them or they're hoping they will, perhaps. What energies is your person in about the connection at this time? 10 of Cups in reverse. So they might be feeling like things are not flowing between you. Perhaps they were in the past and now they're not. 9 of Wands, that kind of came out reverse. So 9 of Wands in reverse. Get a clarifier for the 10 of Cups in reverse, please, Spirit. Actually, we should get clarifiers for all these, but 10 of Cups in reverse. Spread them out a bit. The Star. Clarifier for the Wheel of Fortune. 2 of Wands. Clarifier for the 9 of Wands in reverse. Clarifier for the 9 of Wands in reverse. I'm just going to take the top one of those. So 6 of Cups. I did not even look at the other ones. Bottom of the deck, we have the Knight of Swords. I'm seeing a very strong energy here of your person wanting to mend things in the connection. So it looks as if so with this Wheel of Fortune, they're wanting to maybe change their approach in how things, or change how things have been approached within the connection up to this point, and they really want to bring about like a very strong dramatic shift for the better is what I'm seeing. So with the 10 of Cups in reverse, I think it's coming through as they want to be in a place of harmony with you, and they're longing for that, I would say, with the Star card here. So they're really wishing to, just very strongly wishing to get back to a place of harmony and connection. They might be feeling like you're not there right now, and they really want to get back to that. And so I'd say over here as well, the 9 of Wands in reverse could be about sort of letting your guard down. I'm hearing mending fences. And getting back to that sort of sweetness, like that sweet energy of connection that perhaps you've been in the past. So they really want to just get back to that place where you're connected with each other. And I'd say they're both planning for it in a kind of cerebral way. They're longing for it. And they recognize that perhaps they need to let go of some ego, or just, let go of defensiveness or reactivity in order to do that. And so usually I interpret the bottom of the deck as background energies as sort of maybe past energies. I'm really getting a strong sense here that this is like they have a very strong sense of urgency about fixing things, about, if you've had any misunderstandings or miscommunications, they really want to get past that, and they really want to reconnect with you and be in a better place to connect and get back to whatever sweetness was the originating factor. So I'm not seeing any sort of focusing on conflicts or anything. They just want to drop their defenses, let their guard down, and bring back that harmony and just kind of innocent connection and sweetness that was perhaps the case at the beginning of your connection. Okay, so Spirit, if that's the energies that your person is in, what's blocking this connection? What's blocking the connection at the present time between you and the person in your heart? What are the blocks? What needs to be addressed? 6 of Cups coming out again. Interesting. We've got Queen of Pentacles coming out with the 3 of Pentacles in reverse and the Queen of Cups in reverse. Bottom of the deck we have King of Swords in reverse. That's interesting after the Knight of Swords. So one thing that's blocking the connection is an attachment to the past. So a sort of nostalgia or a longing for things to be the way that they once were. And the past always, this is just a logical truth. Sorry if it comes across as cold, but it's logically correct that the past is the past and is never coming back, right? It is over, it is done. And so this card suggests that there's a need to focus on the present, on whatever the reality of the connection is at this time, and that it's not serving for either of you to be sort of focusing on how things were during a past phase of the connection. And so what's needed here is to acknowledge where the connection is at now and to work with those energies in order to move forward. And so that doing that is in support of the connection and is in support of forming a deeper connection with each other. And so there is a background energy here of possible deceit, manipulation, or maybe just emotional unavailability. And those things have held the connection back. And so with this card, there's also a need to sort of look realistically at the past. And this may not even be energies that you are consciously aware of, but there's some kind of manipulation or dishonesty or just withholding, sort of emotional blockage, like not even a blockage, but like a conscious shutdown of emotions or a lack of emotional availability that was at play in the past. And so it might be that, one person was being deceitful or just holding back, while the other person had an impression that things were really connected. So there's sort of a need to look at the ways in which, and if that's not resonating for you, then don't take it. But if there's something about this that is sort of pinging for you, then there might be a need to look realistically at what the past connection was. And one thing I did want to say is, if the past had been as glorious as, this card kind of suggests, then you wouldn't be in a space of disconnection now, right? So there's sort of a need to look realistically at whatever it was in the past that led to the current disconnection, if you're experiencing a disconnection. There is a need to show up with confidence and charisma, verve, and just be sort of and bringing warmth and passion through. It might be that in terms of bringing that passion back into the connection, that you're not seeing eye to eye, you're not aligned. And so there's a need to communicate openly, especially with this card here. There's a very strong need to communicate openly, transparently, honestly about where you're at, where the connection is at, and to talk about how to get on the same page. So figuring out what you both want from the connection and what you don't want, conversely, and being able to be really open and transparent about those emotions, like whatever the emotional investment is between you, bringing that to the other party with warmth and a desire for a connection, without those guarded energies that were sort of coming through in the last section, and to get back on the same page to talk about, realistically, what are your shared intentions for this connection? What are your shared goals within the relationship? Where do you want it to go? And to be able to work towards that as a team. Yeah, and this Queen of Cups in reverse is sort of reflecting the King of Swords in reverse energy. So it's again sort of emotional. This would be the emotional blockage. Emotions maybe being more subconscious than conscious. Not allowing emotions to flow freely. It could be moodiness, emotional instability, so maybe hot and cold kind of energy. So if there's been a hot and cold energy and that's led to being out of sync, there's a really strong need to bring some warmth and connection. And I'm seeing, there's like blocked emotions, but it's warm actions that are needed in order to rectify those blocked emotions or to get on the same page about where you want to take things. And yeah, let's look at highest possible outcome, and then we'll leave it there. So let's look at highest possible outcome in the connection at this time, projecting forward from present energies, and bearing in mind that the energies are always shifting, so the highest possible outcome in this moment might be different than the highest possible outcome tomorrow. Or in 15 minutes, depending on how quickly things are shifting in your world. Highest possible outcome given current energies in the connection. Spirit, please tune us into what is the highest possible outcome for the collective accessing this reading and the person in their heart. What is the highest possible outcome? Got a whole bunch coming out here. I'm not going to take all those, but we will take... We've got Knight of Swords in reverse. Can we get a clarifier for the Knight of Swords in reverse, please, Spirit? Again, too many cards coming out, but we'll take the top one. Queen of Wands in reverse. Highest possible outcome given the current circumstances. Page of Cups in reverse, clarifying the Page of Cups in reverse. Bottom of the deck, we've got the Knight of Pentacles. Clarifying the Page of Cups, we had the Six of Cups, the Two of Pentacles, and the Ace of Cups coming out. Okay, so this is going to take some explaining because there's a couple of different things coming through here that are, I would say, very different from each other. These two cards, in and of themselves, suggest a pretty unhealthy dynamic. Don't click off, we're getting there. These two cards suggest a really lovely dynamic and a good outcome. I mean, you can click off if you want to, but in any event, I'm going to go through these. There's a couple of different meanings and take what resonates as usual, because they're quite different, and so they may or may not apply to your situation. Keep in mind it is a general reading for multiple people. And so if the interpretation that I give doesn't fit your situation, then it's not your interpretation, and wait for the next one. Okay, so the first one is this Knight of Swords in reverse it's sort of like a use of words with cruel intent. Okay, is the sort of easiest interpretation of it. Not easiest, but it's the most clear interpretation of the Knight of Swords in reverse. It's sort of like using words to hurt. Could be, language that is just unsavory, unkind, being able to push each other's buttons, that kind of thing. Bickering can be part of it. Queen of Wands in reverse could be like very much like an emotional imbalance, kind of like an energy. Between the two of them, there's definitely a sort of manipulative energy coming through, like an energy of prioritizing one's own needs ahead of the connection, selfishness, just not really being there. There could also be an element of being a pickup artist and using pickup artist tactics. If you're not familiar with that, you might want to go down a rabbit hole and have a look. It can be very illuminating if that is what is going on for you in your connection. It's disillusioning, shall we say, but it's also really important to know about if you're not familiar in the contemporary dating landscape, unfortunately. But I'm going to say some counterpoints to that over here. So if that is resonating for you, or if it becomes something that resonates for you, then earlier there was a bit of an indication of your person being really, really into you. And so that, revisiting with these cards in mind, could be the phase of that pickup artist sort of suite of tactics known as love bombing. And so when I learned what the term love bombing means, I was actually quite mad, because I feel like bombing someone with love ought to be the sort of Ace of Cups, like everything's wonderful, giving somebody like literal explosions of love in a really healthy, positive way. To me, that's what that word should mean, and I'm kind of mad that somebody coined it not for that, but for the phase of a relationship where a person is just giving you all kinds of, just making it seem like things are really good, essentially, and giving you, like, sort of building you up, but for the ultimate purpose of cutting you down or controlling the dynamic between you in a way that's very unhealthy. So, like, sort of getting you to become attached in order that they can have control of the situation. It's a manipulation tactic. It goes deeper than that, but I am trying to not say words that we'll have this video deprioritized. So, what am I trying to say? So there's also a sort of more innocuous meaning of this that can line up a little bit better with some of the cards over here. And I guess sort of the overall message would be, especially with this Knight of Pentacles over here, would be to just slow down and make sure that, like, there's a very strong message here of slow down, get to know each other better, get to know your person sort of at the core of their being. One thing that I personally think is important before you commit to somebody is having an argument with them. See how they behave in a disagreement or a conflict. And that is more telling of a person's personality than all of the positive things that happen up to that point, in my opinion. And so you may want to ensure that you've had a couple of arguments. I'm not saying start fights or anything, but just go slowly and get to know the person until something has arisen that is where circumstances are not going the way that they want, and see how they handle that. I'm not saying create circumstances that don't go the way they want. I'm just saying wait for those moments to arise organically, and don't jump in too quickly until you get to that point. So because this is an energy of sort of progressing towards a commitment, slowly but steadily. So I think there's definitely a note here of ensuring that if you are getting to know someone new, just making sure that you know them really, really well before you invest emotionally or in any other way. So don't just move in right away, kind of thing. But rather make sure that you're sort of setting out steps and seeing things that you want to see at each phase of the connection before getting in too deeply. The more positive spin on things could be that this person that you're dealing with might be, and I'm just also recalling the obsession card. So there is an energy of obsession here. There could be an obsession with a past situation for one or both of you. Somebody in this connection might be sort of being stuck in the past, being very attached to a past connection or the way things played out in a past connection. They might be stuck on the beginning of this connection when things were going really well and wanting to replicate or recreate those circumstances, and you can't go back to the past. You have to just move forward with what you've got in the present and realistically evaluate what you've got in the present. But this Page of Cups in reverse, it could refer to emotional immaturity in a person who, so for example, if you're dealing with a pickup artist, then certainly that's an indication of very strong emotional immaturity. You know, nobody does that unless they're completely lacking in confidence and just not in touch with their own heart. You wouldn't behave in controlling ways in a connection unless you had a really deep insecurity, probably from early childhood stuff would be my guess. You wouldn't have a strong need to control things unless you were deeply anxious and untrusting of letting go of control. And so that wound is not your job to fix. Let me just emphasize that. It is not for you to fix anything going on with your person. You can't fix that in them. You can't, the only thing that you could do is be steady and, be clear and forthright and direct and just consistent in your interactions with them, whether that's consistently saying, no, I don't want to go further with the connection, or consistently saying, this is how I feel, and, I'm not going to change how I feel from one day to the next or 1 week to the next. I still feel this way, and you can go do your healing over there. I'll be over here. Maybe we can reconnect in the future after some healings occur, whatever. You'll have to listen to your own instincts. Definitely, I'm not in any way saying that you should accept substandard behavior from another person. You should not, right? You should set boundaries around. And if that Nine of Wands in reverse from earlier is your person wanting to knock your boundaries down for the purpose of being able to manipulate you, then obviously that's not something that you should allow. And just be cautious and get to know them better. So sort of maybe invite them into circumstances where there's other people around, or a variety of contexts, maybe circumstances where there aren't other people around as well, and just kind of see how dynamics go in different contexts. And there could be some jealousy issues, some anger issues coming to the fore. If any of that applies, just be cautious and just be on the lookout for any red flags before you get in too deep. And however, that said, this can also, with, that sort of note of caution over here, like this very strong caution on this side, focusing more over here, there is another interpretation where there's like that emotional immaturity, might be inexperience with relationships. Your person, or you, a person in this connection, might be lacking in experience with intimate connections, might not really, they might sort of be trying to control the situation because anxiety is coming up for them, because it's new for them, because they haven't felt this way before. And if that's the case, then there is some sort of teaching that can be done. Obviously, you don't want to be feeling like you are babysitting a lover. That's not a very attractive dynamic, but there might be some course correction, shall we say, that could occur. And you might be in a position, if you have more experience with relationships, to be able to assist with that. And like if these energies are not as malevolent as they sort of look over here, maybe they're just coming from like possibly there's, if you're inexperienced, it might just be that you sort of have an idea of what a relationship is supposed to look like, or how a connection is supposed to progress, or that maybe they're out of their depths and they just need some reassurance and hand-holding in order to lean more steadily into their emotions. Maybe they need safe circumstances before they will feel like they can do that. There also might be an indication of past relationship trauma here, and that might be causing some skittishness or, that sort of emotional immaturity or emotional blocks for a person in this connection, whether it's you or the other person. And so if that is the case, then healing needs to be done before the connection can move forward. But there is definitely, like with the Two of Coins in reverse, Two of Pentacles in reverse, that can be an indication of, again, those player energies sort of reiterated here. And so it's for you to decide in your own individual circumstances how much of that applies to your situation, which interpretation applies. Is it malevolent, or is it sort of like bumbling inexperience / nervousness because they just haven't experienced emotions like this before? And so if those, like the Ace of Cups suggests, like, that's very, very positive. That's one of the most positive cards you can draw in a romantic connection. We're going from this inexperience / emotional immaturity to confronting sort of past relationship issues or attachments, possible obsession with an ex, or with recreating like what one had with an ex or what one had earlier in the connection, to just kind of juggling. It could be juggling multiple people. If that's something that you're aware of, like if you're consciously seeing other people, then that's perhaps not an issue. But if it's something that is not supposed to be happening in the connection, i.e. you've just had a discussion about being monogamous with each other, then just be on the lookout for whether that is something that is occurring. If that resonates, again, only take it if it resonates. And I'm not saying that that's something that applies to your situation. Like, again, you would probably already have seen that. Okay, so you might be here because you're specifically wondering about that. If so, then the cards are sort of saying, like, yes, your instinct might be correct here. But the Ace of Cups is so, so positive that it's almost like there's a progression here. And I like that it's going from this emotional immaturity progressing to the Ace of Cups, because the Ace of Cups is the energy of being so much on the same page. It's like true love. It's like giving with no expectation of return, being invested in the connection and just sort of naturally wanting to give your time and your love to the other person, and the only thing you want back from them is their time and their love. Just wanting to be with them, wanting to be around them, wanting to be loved by them. And it's very much an energy of being on the same page about that. So both of you feeling those energies. And so that's the final card of the reading. And so in that case, revisiting the prior interpretation, it might be that your person is very, very into you, yet maybe they have some issues around speaking too quickly when they're angry, or, some like trigger points that need to be worked on. And if that's the case, this Knight of Pentacles is suggesting that, again, you take things really, really slowly. Maybe you set conscious goals together for, like, maybe you set goals for yourself for what you want to see as a progression in your person, and you can hold that space for them. You don't have to necessarily have that conversation with them, but if you're not seeing those steps being taken, or maybe in a precise order even, then you might want to cut your losses at a later stage. But if you can take those steps together and get to a place where these trigger points are not happening, unkind words are not happening, letting go of some of those past attachments, or healing some of those wounds or anxieties, or I'm just getting like a very strong sense of, every time I focus over here, I'm getting a very strong sense of vulnerability from, I assume, from your person. It could be you, as it applies in your situation. But this to me is sort of like the darker manipulative energies, but over here it's sort of like bumbling, like being scared to try, because maybe in the past your person tried and was completely shut down by somebody who brought their own wounds into the previous connection. If that's the case, then there might be room for you to just show up reliably and steadily and consistently, and try and just ensure that you have a clear idea of what those measured steps need to be in order for you to want to move forward with the connection. And so if that is the case, and you see those steps being taken or those milestones being achieved, then it looks to me like there's the potential for a very, very strong, like the ultimate connection that you can have with another person in human form on this earth in the 3D. It could also suggest being really connected beyond the 3D, but I'm seeing this as 3D. I'm seeing this as connection right now, and some issues that might be afflicting the connection, healing that needs to be done. But again, if that healing is done, then the potential is really there for, and you can't love potential, right? You have to love the reality of a person. So you just make sure you're taking it slow and setting those goals for yourself internally, and keeping your boundaries strong until such time as you feel like you can trust what's happening in the connection, genuinely trust, with that knowledge of what those tactics are that you need to be wary of out there in dating land. Yeah, in contemporary times. And so I hope that's helpful. We're going to leave it there. I hope that you're able to protect your own heart and bring about a good outcome, whether that's for yourself individually or in a twosome, because there is some very strong loving energies here, where there's unconditional love, just connecting, like natural flowing connection with no expectation, no, like a non-transactional love. This would be very transactional, right? This is where somebody's looking to get something out of the connection. This is like the only thing that you want is to connect. Okay, I hope that's helpful. So please do like, subscribe, press all the buttons, and come back for more. Hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Bye!